Well, we have a new nickname for him. I don't think we've told Mr. Blackburn about his new nickname, have we?
I don't think we've seen him since then.
I might. You can have it. You can sell T-shirts, but when you pitch, we call it Paulie Win Day.
I have not heard that. No, but I like it. That's the goal every day. So
that's my gift to you, Paulie Win Day.
Thank you.
You can write that to a bobblehead, to T-shirts, whatever you want to do. It is great to have you on the program. Another fantastic outing yesterday, and you look great on the mound. Just talk about the confidence you have because we can see it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to gain confidence when things are going your way and you're pitching well. But I just feel like no matter who's in the box, I'm going to get you out. Like that's kind of where I am right now. Just like mentally, like I believe my stuff. I believe every single pitch I throw. I'm 100% behind every pitch I throw mentally. And yeah, it's been working out that way.
Isn't it amazing conviction? It's like you can have the greatest stuff in the world, but if you don't believe in it, especially in pressure situations, it doesn't matter. And you may not have the best stuff in the world, but if you believe in it, it works.
Yeah, no, it does. And it's funny, like, I feel like a lot of times you hear when people have big accomplishments, you hear them like, oh, like it's all about belief. Like if you believe, you believe. And like you hear that and you're like, okay, but a little more goes into it. But like as soon as you do start kind of believing, it makes everything else in your body believe too. And like to me, that's just kind of where I've been this year. Like I just feel like anytime at any pitch I throw, you're not going to hit it.
Okay, before we get into the mental side, let's go physical side. Take us through difference in whether we've heard a lot of different things. When you have a good season, a lot of people start talking about a lot of different things. So how much did you change grip, curveball, slider, cutter, just physically? What are changes or maybe tweaks that you've done?
Yeah, so one of the biggest tweak I think this year for me that's helped me, Sam, one of our analytical people, she on my four seam in spring and honestly through my whole career, I guess my wrist wasn't neutral. My wrist was pointed up, and I was cutting my four seam a lot. I wasn't staying behind it, and we talked in spring training, and she told me to, she told me my wrist is pointed up. You need to have it more neutral to stay behind the ball, create better life. And so I worked on that. This was towards the end of spring training. Worked on that the last couple of days about keeping my wrist neutral, and it's helped my four seam a lot this year. I've never thrown as many four seams as I had this year.
Did you feel it like when she told you? Did you have that feeling? You go, okay.
Yeah. So essentially we're throwing bullpens. They have an iPad and they have, your horizontal break, your vertical break, all this stuff. They have like your wrist position, and I was looking at it, and there was like 4 or 5 pitches where my wrist position was straight at 12, and everything else was in between like 1.5 and 2. And so I was like, those are my four seams? And she was like, yes, like that's why you're cutting them. And I thought I was under the ball. So in my head, I was trying to correct something, but I was going the opposite way. So essentially I was hurting myself going this way instead of allowing myself to be more neutral with it and more loose.
It makes sense. It's like, even though your feels and the reality of what's going on don't always work together. Yeah. It's when they both come together, when you're feeling it, what's going on, and the science and the feelings together. But sometimes your feeling and the science are two opposite things. Talk about the breaking balls.
Honestly, I haven't really changed much on my curveball. If anything, I've probably gripped it a little harder this year. I have been working with like a slider. It's a big sweepy slider. It's kind of like my curveball. I throw it maybe 4 or 5 times an outing, just to give hitters a different look. That way, like they have to be conscious of my curveball. That's more like top to bottom. My slider that is like more sweepy. So it's just more of like a different look for them. But as far as like grip goes, all my grips really the same. Like a lot of it's just been mentality for me with my curveball. And now obviously, like I said, seeing results with it like gives you a little more confidence with it, gives you just a little more conviction behind it. But a lot of the stuff that I've done has been more mentality-wise.
One of my favorite things, we're going to start dealing with StatCast, cutter versus just it's a natural cut. What is it for you?
Mine's a cutter.
Okay.
Mine's a cutter. It's probably more sliderish. If you talk to the analytical department.
See, this is what I love is because Statcast is going to say he throws cutter this many times, slider bit, and then you talk to someone, they go, "Well, I really don't throw that."
Mine essentially is a cutter and a slider. If I go up with it, when I go up and into lefties, you're going to get more of a horizontal. I'm not going to get
which would
like
be the
vertical
cutter.
depth. Yeah, and that's going to be the cutter. Now, when I go down and away to righties with it, it's going to have a little bit of slide to it, and so that's just how it comes out. Like I'm thinking fastball the whole time, but once I start thinking like, oh, I want it to cut when I'm going down to a righty, that's when I get messed up. And like, whether it's a cutter, whether it's a slider, I mean, whatever they want to call it, they can call it. But in my head, I call it a cutter because that's what helps me think fastball with it. And then the action on it is the action.
So I don't want you to come out of games, and you don't need to say anything. Don't want to get you in trouble. But there's like when Kotze comes out to get you, I go, no, leave him in. Let him keep going. And I know you want to go deep into games. But how do you prepare to get through a lineup once, twice, a third time, and to always keep them on their toes?
Yeah, so we'll use yesterday, for instance. Like I faced Boston 2 weeks ago. And my game plan going into Boston from the results base, like they were on a lot of my stuff. And like granted, like I didn't have my best cutter that day. And that's one thing that I knew going into that start yesterday. And that's a weapon that I kind of had in my back pocket where they haven't seen my best cutter that I had. And yesterday I had a pretty good one. And just being able to kind of take a step back and reevaluate the game from a clear mindset where it's like, okay, like what did I do that gave me success during this game with Boston here? What did I do well? Okay, like this is what I did. What did they do well against me? And now you start, it's kind of like a pros and cons list, right? Okay, this is what worked for me. This is what they were on. So now how can we incorporate what worked for me into a new game plan while still being able to use certain pitches that didn't work well for me, if that makes sense, where it's like, maybe it's a sequencing thing. Maybe it's like, maybe we're getting too predictable out there. Like just being able to kind of break down like that and look at an outing instead of it being like, oh, a bad outing or a good outing, like being able to honestly like sit down and think about your outing and realize that, every outing you're going to have good pitches. Every outing you have bad pitches. Like whether those bad pitches beat you, who knows, but good pitches can beat you sometimes. But for me, it's just being able to see what worked against the team and what didn't work and why did that not work. Because it's not like your pitches are good, like your pitches work, but it's like, was I too predictable? Did I set it up correctly? Or like what did I do the same exact sequence to that guy as I did the guy on deck and the guy on deck beat me? Just things like that where like it's so much game inside of a game. And I feel like in the past I would get so wrapped up in like, oh, like I went out there and gave up 5 runs, bad outing, and it's like, yeah, you don't want to sit there and think or dwell on bad outings, but there are positives in every single outing that you have. Whether it's you go out and get 2 outs and you give up 8 runs, you'll still find a positive in that. You probably don't want to think about it, but there are positives at every single outing that I feel like a lot of people get away from when there's bad results there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to have positivity because in this game you can find a whole lot of negative and it can drown you, and it's tough to get out of that mindset. And that's where I want to get into the mental side. I think about when we talked to you down at spring training, Ho-Ho Cam, and this was about you making the ball club and excited and you're healthy, which was great for you, to where we are today where you're going out to win. You're going out to win games against elite teams and elite lineups. Talk about the mentality of where you were in Arizona to where you are now.
So coming into spring training, like I didn't have any options left. Like it was make or break. Like either I make the team or I'll get DFA'd again, and who knows what happens from there. But I tried not to think of it like that. I tried to think of it as like this is my 10th spring training, I think. Like I know what I need to do to get my body ready at this point. And I allowed spring training to kind of be that for me. I didn't come into spring training adding pressure on myself like I need to come and make a team. I stayed within myself, and I trusted that the work that I put in every single day and the mindset that I bring every day will ultimately get me to that goal. And then when the season started, it was more of like, okay, like it was like a checklist, right? Okay, first box, like check, made a team out of spring. Now it's like, what, like essentially, like what can I do to prove people wrong? You know, like I feel like there's been a lot of times like when I've added so much pressure on myself on the field that I didn't allow myself to be myself out there, and where like I'd have so many different things going on, whether it's like stress of like not letting runs score, whether it's like stress of throwing strike, or whatever it may be. Like there, I feel like I added so much unneeded stress to myself in the past, and just being able to kind of come in with like, I'm going to prove you wrong mindset, and what's the worst that can happen? Like I've been DFA'd. I've gone through all that. Like I've essentially been fired for say, and I worked to get back here. So it's like, what do I have to lose? Like go out there and be yourself, and like at least if you lose, like have them beat you. Don't beat yourself, and like don't overthink it. And that's just kind of where I've been this year.
One thing that I'm not good at is just sticking with what I can control. I want to control other things, and then it takes me back to Jim Harbaugh. He used to always say, control the controllables. And for a pitcher, and I think of Frankie going tonight, I got these numbers, how the team just does not score with him on the mound. And it sucks. How as a pitcher, you're out on the mound, team hasn't scored for you, you give up a run or two, and oh, God, here we go. How do you not get down and not worry about how the offense is performing and just control truly what you can control?
Yeah, kind of like what you said, control what you can control. And
easier said than done.
It is very easier said than done. And like I said, when things are going good, it's a lot easier to control what you control. When things are going bad, like you have little things that will frustrate you. But like I look as far as like runs go, like it is what it is, right? It's a game of baseball. Like those guys are good, we're good. Like it's essentially like who's better on that day, essentially. And it's honestly like it's for me to control the controllables per se, it's just a pitch by pitch basis. Like whether as a starting pitcher, your job is essentially to keep your team in the game. And like if you go 6 innings, you go 7 innings, and you come out and it's 2-0, like you essentially did your job, right? Like granted, like would you rather come out when your team's ahead? Of course, everyone would. But I think just being able to realize that, like, what your job actually is as a starting pitcher. Your job is to push the pace. Your job is to create soft contact, keep your defense involved, and keep your team in the game. And like you said, the controllables, like you're not up there grabbing a bat. You're not hitting. You're not doing that. So like that's out of your hands. And the more you think about that, the more that creeps into your mind, and it'll stress you out. Where it's like, oh, I got a guy lead off double, can't let him score. You can't be out there in a game and think that, because I'll tell you what, that guy's going to score as soon as you start thinking that. As soon as you start thinking, I can't let this guy score, walk, base hit, now you got guys at second and third with no outs. And now it's like, okay, now you have to try and stop a snowball, which is very hard to do. But yeah, for me, honestly, it's a pitch by pitch basis. And, I have faith in our offense, complete faith in our offense. Every time they go out there, we've put up crooked numbers this year, and it can happen at any point. So it's just one of those things where, you kind of stay in your own lane, and you worry about what you can control.
All right, 2 more. I know you got to go with 2 more. Number one thing for you in between starts that you have to do.
Oh man, I keep the same routine. Like when things are going well, I keep the same routine. So like today, day after I pitch, I'll run 20 minutes. I'll do a lower body lift, do some treatment in the training room. Tomorrow will be a side day for me. I honestly probably bullpens. Like I know like throughout a season, everyone's kind of different, and like some guys will skip a bullpen here and there because it's a long year. But like for me, like just being able to get on the mound and feel myself coming down the mound, feel my hand out in front, like just seeing how my pitches are reacting. For me, that's something that I always have to do in between starts. Like I'm not gonna take a rotation off from getting off the mound. Like to me, that's just prep work for me. So if that kind of answers your question.
Any superstitions?
Yeah, I have pizza before the night I pitch every time.
I mean, that's not a bad one to have.
Every time.
You're not going to – that's not a bad – some people have some crazy. Pizza's not bad. All right, let's end on this because we were just talking to Jonah Bride, and I said, you know, you're an inspiration, man. I mean, you're 23rd round pick, a senior who had to sign, who's just saying, you know what, don't have to go get a job yet. Go play. Next thing you know, he's in the big leagues. But I think about you. You're a Bay Area kid playing on a Bay Area team. There's a lot of young players out there who are looking up to you as an inspiration who can say, hey, listen, if he could do it, I can do it. What does it mean for you as a guy that watched baseball games here as a kid to now playing on this field, knowing that you got all these kids in the East Bay who can look up to you?
No, it's an awesome feeling. You know, as an athlete, I feel like sometimes you don't get as wrapped up in it as you kind of should for like younger generations and like kids. And like, you know, I try to sign as many autographs as I can for kids because I remember coming to a park and asking for autographs and no one would sign. So like I try to take care of the kids out here. I know it's very important. You know, I guess a message for like younger kids would be, honestly, always believe in yourself. And like when times are tough, like you're going to get through it, you know, and like, you know, at a young age, I would say to play as many sports as you can. And I feel like nowadays, too many kids are kind of pinholed into one or two sports and one sport athletes at too young. And I feel like growing up, I played every sport besides football. My dad wouldn't let me play football, but I played every sport, and I just feel like it helps with your body awareness. It helps with, you know, learning how to work as a team. It helps just being able to build a group together. Even that, you know, maybe it's 6 or 7 years old, that's not really that kid's goal, but like later on in life, you'll realize that like those team atmospheres, it's what helps you get along with people just in life, like being able to you know, connect with someone or whatnot. Like, but yeah, to me, it's honestly just always believe in yourself no matter what you do. Dreams do come true.
What do you have to have on that pizza, by the way?
Pepperoni and pineapple.
All right. I was going to ask you, Cody, what are yours? I'm an all meat guy. I go the meat lovers. What do you got to have on your pizza?
Sometimes I don't mind pineapple. Buffalo chicken's fine. Buffalo or barbecue chicken.
I can't do black olives.
Yeah, no, that's people like anchovies. Not for me.
No anchovies. I can do olives though. I can do olives. Not like strict olives. I'll do like a combination. Yeah. I won't go like just regular olives, but I don't mind olives on pizza.
The controversial one is pineapple. Do you like that? Yes or no?
Yeah, you said it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's all that matters.
Pepperoni and pineapple.
There you go. Because a lot of people get on me for liking pineapple on my pizza.
I know, but then people try it and they're like,
"Yeah, this is actually pretty good."
Pretty good,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What do you do on the road?
I order it.
Is there do you like search out spots?
So like, no, like so. This started. It started when I was in Myrtle Beach, so 2015, and I had a terrible first half. And one night we were on the road, long bus trip, got in late, and I ordered a Domino's pizza, and I ordered pepperoni and pineapple. And I went out there, and I went like 7 innings, gave up like a hit or two. And I'm like, man, we're rolling with this.
The streak is born.
And then I did it again, and I had a good outing. Did it again, and then it just kind of stuck with me. So like it started off as Domino's, and like it's just kind of turned into whatever I can find on DoorDash or like local pizza spot by the hotel on the road. Like it's just kind of turned into that, but it's always pizza day before I pitch.
You know what it is? It's time for us to get a pizza sponsor for Paulie Winde. That's my new mission. I'll be bringing you some business.
All right.
Hey, great stuff as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.